I've always said, if you can't take something apart, you do not own it. And that is exactly the idea behind Bunnie Studio's new open source laptop. I'm going to go ahead and play the video, but turn the volume down. So open source laptops, very interesting idea. I'm not sure how practical this is going to be in the real world, but for some people, for hackers, and for people who, oh, there's the conspicuously placed hacker hat there in the video. And for people who really just care about owning the device totally and being able to do whatever they want, this could be a pretty interesting device. It's crowdfunded as well. I don't know. Did you get a chance to take a look at the Novena laptop?
I like it from the concept. Like the concept he had last year was, or the year before, it's been a while, was we need to do an open source laptop where the schematics are open and everything is open and you can be reasonably sure, blah, blah, blah. But also it can be used for hardware hacking. And that is a sort of a thing where he can look at what's happening on the bus of an internal machine, or what's happening with like an interface, or what's happening between like the DRAM chips and the processor, and just crazy stuff like that. But it would be fast enough to do that, and it would be a sort of a hacking friendly platform to be extensible.
Now this is only going to be ARM. This platform, I believe, has a 1.2 gigahertz. I'm not sure if it's a quad-core ARM processor, and I guess that's my only gripe, really. Even though that's not a major gripe, it's going to be just fine with Linux. I guess I want everything to game, and x86 is usually the ticket for gaming, other than, you know, Android-based games and some Linux games. But you won't be doing any Windows on this. I wouldn't think you'd be doing any Windows on this. I don't know. But yeah, it's going to be a little Linux box. I don't know. Could you put Windows on this? Maybe RT?
Probably not. Yeah, let's not go there. I thought it was interesting the form factor they picked. It's basically, it's a clamshell, but it's a clamshell that opens backwards, and when you open it, you can get to the inside of it, and there's no keyboard. I guess in the $5,000 edition, it comes with a keyboard, but it's like, use a Bluetooth keyboard. Yeah, it's fine. You don't need a keyboard.
Yeah, see, the laptop version for $19.95. Here's the 4 different versions here. Just the board. You just get, nothing else but the board. You get the all-in-one desktop, which is the one that has that flips open. And it does have a 1920 by 1080 IPS LCD, so I guess pretty good for the money there. And then for $2,000, let's see, does that have a keyboard? Yeah, no keyboard. Nope, you're right, just the $5,000. But that one's got the fancy wooden body. It is pretty nice, but yeah, $5,000, and it's really thick. It just has a ton of ports, so very cool. I wanted to start off with that one because we finished off talking about Apple, and this is. It's funny because this is kind of the antithesis of what Apple is today, but it really is the core of what Apple started as, you know? Open platforms that you could hack and mod. So, all right. Moving right along, AMD's Jaguar Microarchitecture. There's a huge article here on Real World Tech. Damn it, I didn't read all this. Probably ought to skip this one.
There's so much fun things happening this week. It's hard to cram it all in.
Yeah, there's a ridiculous amount of stuff. Nvidia's 20 nanometer GPU lineup, the Maxwell GPUs, have been delayed, and that is because Taiwan Semiconductor, or what is it? What they're called? Yeah, Taiwan Semiconductor something. What the hell's the name of that company? I'm going to have to put it
Global
into
Foundries?
Wikipedia. No, it's Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company. Oh. It's just they're able to do 20 nanometers, but they're just not retrofitted yet to do GPUs like that. Let me turn my light back on. It went off. So the delay of the NVIDIA parts, that's going to be interesting for AMD. We're probably not going to see the next lineup of GPUs until the end of 2014 or possibly the beginning of 2015. Maybe out in time for the holidays, which would be cool. But that's really going to give AMD a little bit more time. And I'm not sure if they're going to bring anything out that's new in the meantime. But I don't know. It'll just make the market a little bit more interesting. They did just bring out the Titan Z, which is absolutely ridiculous and silly. All right, Intel has unveiled their new tiny $99. It's the MinnowBoard Max, and this is interesting because we just talked about an ARM processor. Now this is tiny. It's a system on chip, and this is actually x86. So I don't know. This is pretty wild. The thing that I like about this the most is the expandability. because you can stack these. It's almost like, it reminds me almost of like an Arduino or something, where you can stack these, except that this is, x86, and you can actually make a computer out of this.
That's where Intel's going. Intel, I think, is blown away by the fact that the Raspberry Pi has sold, 2.5 million units, and it's starting to show up in other things. And Broadcom has reaped the benefits, because the Raspberry Pi has got a somewhat proprietary, not exactly open processor, and a lot of detractors have really complained about that. Not that the Intel processor is any more open, but the x86 platform has a lot more legacy software support, and you see it in industrial systems and things like that. And so they've got this $99 thing that replaces their $200 thing that they did that wasn't super popular. They also they had the Galileo, I think it was, which was the Arduino compatible x86. It was like a Pentium system on chip or something like that. Well, this is adding video and some other things that are pretty cool. And there's actually going to be a version of this that's got 4 gigs of RAM.
Yeah, it's got, well, it's also got, like you just said, video. It's 64-bit, and it has the Intel 4000, HD 4000 series graphics. So it's pretty ridiculous. And then, like I was saying, the expandability lures are what they're called, where you can actually stack, just whatever you want. Get something else and stack it on top, add functionality, add features. That's a pretty cool thing. Now, the other MinnowBoard, the older one, was 4.2 inches by 4.2 inches. This one is a lot smaller, 3.9 inches by 2.9 inches.
Well, I would love to see what the Raspberry Pi, a new version of that, is long overdue. I would love to see something that comes out that's backward compatible with the Raspberry Pi, because there's a ton of software out there and everybody's making all this cool stuff software-wise for the Raspberry Pi, and that's what makes the Raspberry Pi really awesome. It's not the platform. The platform's terrible, but the software is amazing, and that's what makes the platform. And so I would really love to see a 2 gigahertz, 4 gig of RAM Raspberry Pi that's got a little bit more oomph. And this being x86, it'll have the oomph just because of the legacy software support. I mean, it's at the highest end, it's a quad-core E3845 1.9 gigahertz, 4 gigs of DDR3, 8 megs of onboard SPI flash, micro SDI, micro HDMI, gigabit Ethernet, dual USB ports, 1 USB 3 port. So, I mean, it's got some pretty serious hardware. And the low end is the one that's $99. I don't think they've released official pricing on a higher end one, but if the higher end one's like $150, it's starting to get out of the Raspberry Pi territory. Like $75 to $125, I think, is the sweet spot for something that powerful.
Yeah, but in that size range, you know what I would pay money for? I'd pay money for the quad core, and then give me a lure that's just full of network ports. I want like 10 gigabit network ports on like an add-on board. That would make me really happy. I don't think that's going to happen, but that'd be really cool.
That would be really cool, because you could have a really awesome little micro router. AMD is doing some cool stuff with the A10. They've come out with a new version of the Geode. If you're into the Alix thing, a really old pfSense video, there's a version of that now that has gigabit Ethernet, and it's a new version of the Geode and blah, 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 and we should have one in a couple of weeks.
I've got a question for you while we're on this, because I haven't even played with Alix in a little while. How's Alix doing with wireless in?
The wireless in support is pretty much fixed, but now it's wireless AC, so you're still...
It's like they're always one generation behind, but hey, at least we'll have wireless in.
You really, if you're going to do wireless, you really are best off to get a separate module. And if you want like wireless that rocks your socks off and you don't want to spend a whole bunch of money, the Ubiquiti AC is really the best bang for your buck. And Linus bought some, and he was like, "Yeah, you were right." It's like, "Yeah, really."
Yeah.
Might have done this a time or two.
Yeah, he made a very cool little video for the Ubiquiti stuff. He's probably got the video on the website. If you go and look at the website, we should probably make a video on that. All the other guys are out there making videos on stuff that you've recommended.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, hey, we need to. There were a lot of. There was a surprising amount of comments on some of the industrial stuff we've been looking at. People are like, oh my god, I need to do more industrial stuff. We might do a video on a dual socket 2011. It's like how to build your own virtual machine cluster with Proxmox.
Yeah, I'm at the point where I am just sick of playing around with consumer stuff, and then the prosumer stuff is like, because a lot of times you can get the industrial stuff, on sale on eBay, or you can get it half price because some idiot bought it and doesn't know how to use it, or some company went out of business. So if you can get the industrial stuff at the cost of the prosumer stuff, go for the industrial stuff. Let us know if you guys would like more videos on industrial products, because I think they're pretty damn cool. you know. All right, let's get extreme and talk about a new extreme CPU that can withstand 300 degrees, and that's in Celsius. All right, so the Fraunhofer, I'm sure I've said that incorrectly, but they're the Fraunhofer societies in Germany. Wendell, I think that's the same group of people that made MP3s, or maybe not.
Fraunhofer IIS was responsible for MP3s. Is this the same company? If so, they've got a really diverse R&D department, ... question mark.
Wait a minute. Do you think maybe we're funding them to develop CPUs that can bore into the center of the earth and send, and send signals to other parts of the country and then get people hooked on fake versions of Twitter? Wait a minute.
I think somebody needs to contact Intel because maybe they could solve the heat problem on Haswell. It's like, 300 degrees C. It doesn't matter that you've got the IVR blowing out the processor now. It's fine.
Yeah, their special equipment is cast iron. I don't even know.
It's kind of funny. They don't tell you, but voltage regulators actually hit peak efficiency at like 90 degrees C. And so it's like, voltage regulator 90 degrees C inside a processor that doesn't work at 90 degrees C.
Anyway, the application for these is, that part of the world is a little bit ahead of most of us as far as renewable energies go. And geothermal energy, you've got to dig pretty far down. The problem is when you get down there, a lot of the equipment doesn't like to work. So if you have a processor like this in your equipment, you're going to be just fine.
Also space, also military.
Yeah.
So you were talking, it's like, let's explore the core of the Earth. But someone inside DARPA was like, it could work inside a bomb. We need that.
As an answer to the Titan Z, AMD has released the Radeon R9 295X2. Well, they haven't released it. They've just unveiled it. There it is in all its glory. Now, this thing, it needs a dual slot. Damn it. Let me say that again. It needs 2 slots, and it also...
and the blood of a goat.
Yeah, it needs the blood of a goat. It also is going to require water cooling. So it has a hybrid cooler there with fan and also the water cooling unit. And it also requires 2 8-pin power connectors. And the rest of the specs have not been unveiled, so nobody knows how fast it's going to be. Some people say that each core is going to be clocked at 1 gigahertz, which makes sense. But there's a fancy case that it comes in. It's ridiculous. Who's going to carry it around in a briefcase with well, I guess, why not?
The heirloom edition.
So, yeah. A lot of cores, 5,632 cores. That's going to be a hell of a beast. I'm not sure if it's going to beat the Titan Z, but I'm sure it's going to beat it in OpenCL. Yeah. Moving right along. Microsoft has an answer to Google Glass. And, I was actually scared while I was watching the video on this. They seem to be focusing a lot on the potential for advertising. It's really augmented reality. There's a pair of glasses, and there's earbuds that go in your ear that are totally noise canceling. And they're really putting a lot of work into this. But the thing that differentiates this from Google Glass, and I'll bring it up here on the screen, is the fact that they're also going to give you a ring. And they said the ring is not much larger than like a ring that you would get, from your school or whatever. What do they call those rings?
Class ring?
Class ring. A ring that you would get from a class. What do they call that?
I mean, it's just what... Class ring.
Yeah.
Class ring. It's just, if you say it more than 3 times, it doesn't make sense anymore. It's just random words. I don't understand.
Well, at least it's got a ring to it.
It's euphemistically called the class ring, as if it bestows class.
Anyway, you're going to you'll have a lot of class when you're out flailing around at the air. What this ring is going to do is it's going to essentially put a cursor in your augmented reality world so that you can control things. And you're like, hey, that billboard is talking to me. Let me click on it and see. Well, you know what? Let's just show some of this damn video here. I'm going to skip over here. They're showing, things going on in the real world. Of course, you can play games in your augmented reality, check, your email and that sort of thing. But take a look at some of the advertisements. Oh, I should put that on the screen. Take a look at some of the advertisements and that sort of thing.
In your view, you have a tiny signet ring.
Turn that down. Where do they show the car? Hold on a second. I'll clap before I show the car. That's pretty cool. You got the forecast coming up there on the screen. It seems pretty obtrusive compared to Google Glass, but I thought
playing
games.
I thought the quote from them was really interesting that augmented reality is going to catch on before Oculus Rift, because there might be something to that. I mean, Google has that augmented reality game where you got to like capture the node or whatever, and that's kind of cool because nobody knows about it much.
Yeah.
But it's like we don't really see the Oculus Rift happening, but we do see augmented reality happening, and the person that's closest to having that is probably Google with Google Glass, because you've got the heads-up display. It's not exactly augmented reality, but it's sort of omniscient access in your field of vision at all times.
Now, I do want to clarify that the video that we just watched is an older tech demo, but Microsoft acquired that technology to use on their own projects. So that's sort of the direction they're going in. I'm sure it's not going to be quite as cheesy as that, but this has all been developed it's been in development for quite a while now. So I guess it'll be, I also agree with you that this probably will be a mainstream type thing before virtual reality is. And I think, well, the big problem that I think VR is going to have is just the fact that the headset is so bulky. I don't really want to wear the Oculus Rift a lot. And when I wore it at the few events that I've been to, I was not extremely impressed with the quality. And I'd rather play on a monitor, but that's me. A lot of people are blown away by it. And I don't guess I understand the hype of putting something this big on my head and wearing it for 8 hours while I play a video game. Maybe if they figure that out, then it'll be different, but I don't know.
I think they're going to get like really high speed cameras, do eye tracking, and just fire lasers into your eyeballs, because that's a pretty good way to keep the light from dispersing and not have to bolt something to your head.
Until your brain melts, and then it'll be fun. Adata has a few new SSDs coming out, and they have some in very large capacities, like the 1 terabyte. That's pretty insane. 64 times 16 gigabyte die configuration. So
I need that.
That's pretty crazy. There's also a 512 gigabyte version, and there's a 256 gigabyte version. But the problem with when you drop down to 256 gigabytes is that the write speed is only 360, and then if you drop down to 128, the write speed is only 180. So, in order to really take advantage of the speeds that we're used to with SATA 6, you're going to have to get a 512 or a 1 terabyte drive. Other than that, some of their previous generation drives are actually faster as far as the 256 flavor and the 128 flavor. Was there 120 and 240? I forget, but yeah, they're not quite as fast. The IOPS look okay. I mean, 88,000 is not the fastest thing I've ever seen for write IOPS, but it's not the slowest either.
I've been really impressed for a desktop machine. I've been really impressed by the Marvell 9320 controller. It's a two-lane PCI Express controller, and it has some proprietary Marvell technology called HyperDuo, and it's on like some of the Asus boards and some of the workstation boards. A lot of different vendors have it. Even the little ASRock server grade boards that we the ITX one has it, and it can use an SSD for acceleration, but it can also use an SSD for write acceleration. Now that's kind of dangerous because if you lose either drive, the volume is toast. But for gaming and a home PC and things like that with like 128 gig volume backed by like a 1 terabyte or a 2 terabyte or a 3 terabyte mechanical drive, that I've been running that configuration on a machine that I use quite a bit at the last couple of weeks.
Probably flies.
And it's been actually really fast.
All right, let's talk about the satellite. We're going to start getting into some science here. So, when we ended the last episode, you were going to go play around with the parabolic antenna for what?
I must ready for the coming space probe. Yes.
Excellent. All right, so what's going on with this space probe?
It doesn't get here until August, it was all the buzz a while ago, but we're probably going to hear about it every month between now and August, so get ready. But basically, there was a space probe that launched in the 70s, I think like 1976, and we shut it down, we thought, but we didn't actually shut it down. And so its orbit around the sun and our orbit happen to be getting close to one another in August. And so probably if you're an amateur radio operator, you can actually pick up signals from this thing. Now, it actually would take a 70-meter dish to get a signal to it, probably, unless you're super creative and have sort of a radio laser telescope thingy, but I don't know if I'm going to get that done by August. But we're going to give it a try. NASA has
hire a couple people and throw them at that.
Yeah, well, what's happened is NASA doesn't have the facilities anymore to contact this thing, and its scientific instruments have been running for a while, and we would like to download the data from it. And so NASA's like, we don't have the radio telescopes to do this. Here's all the specs. Here's the commands. Here's everything that you need to take control of this satellite that's been in space since 1978. And so people of the internet take control of the satellite is basically what's happening.
So you're telling me we can't afford to keep stuff like that online for NASA, but we can afford to set up a fake social network to try to undermine other governments?
Yeah, we have enough money to set up fake Twitter to try to fuel unrest in Cuba, but we don't have enough money to fund a 70-meter radio telescope to contact a probe that's been in space collecting scientific data since 1978.
And you know that we grossly overpaid for that fake social network because, all the guys in Congress hired their buddy Steve, who subcontracted it out to his nephew, and then everyone's just rolling around in a big money bath, while we got NASA that is a government, agency and doesn't really work that way. Just over here, like, guys, we had to eat Hot Pockets, and I'm Hot Pocket intolerant, and that's all you're giving us, and we needed to find...
$300 million later, all the Cubans got was a WordPress install with Buddy Press on top of it.
Yeah, and somebody's laughing all the way to the bank. Somebody's nephew is laughing all the way to the bank while they all go to a ski resort.
I've seen how this ends. It's a documentary called Star Trek One. V'ger comes back to Earth, and it's really pissed off.
A documentary. A documentary made in the future. Story at 11.
Fourth dimensional documentary.
Let's improve efficiency on some solar panels. Now, ordered carbon nanotube design may increase conductivity of solar cells by 100 million times, says the sensational title here. Now, okay, so they say that what they're going to do is really, really cool here. But they are, controlling the placement of the carbon nanotubes in the nanostructures. It's resulting in this massive boost. I'm just reading the damn article. Why am I doing that? But what they're doing is they're basically rearranging where the carbon nanotubes go, and it's able to increase efficiency like crazy. Now, that does not mean 100 million times more power is going to be generated. That means maybe, I'm guessing, 10 to 12 more times. Maybe something better than that. But
well,
that makes it sound really sensational, right? Right
now, at the absolute upper echelons of efficiency, solar cells are about 20 to 25% efficiency. Mm-hmm. I've read reports that there are some 32% efficient solar cells, but I'll believe it when I see it on a mass production scale. But the reason we mention solar every once in a while is because you got to pay attention, because we're right at the tipping point. It's the cost of manufacturing and the cost of purchase and installation that is now the impediment. It's not actually the cost per watt. And so this is really important for like middle class America, because if you look at the average square footage of the roofs on people's houses that are facing away from the street, we're entering a point where the area that you've got on the roof to put solar cells is enough to power 70, 80, 90% of the energy needs of that house. And that is a tipping point. Once the installation costs, like hookup and the equipment standardizes, and those costs plummet, you're going to see a rapid overnight deployment by sort of, middle class America, because of the cost-benefit ratio and because of rising energy costs. Add to that, your electric car, your plug-in car, things like that. Then, the solar cells of today's efficiencies, like maybe only 50 or 60% of the energy needs of a typical household. But with these gains in efficiency, you're going to be back up to like 90%. And then at that point, the energy game is going to change completely.
Well, the one thing we have to worry about is, governments that do not get it, and also governments that are just too in bed with the current, power players that are in their area, like Spain, for instance. Now, Spain, what they were doing was they were enforcing a tax upon people who were going solar, because they were saying, well, hey, listen, you guys are putting solar panels on your roof, and you guys are taking money out of the power company's pocket, and we can't have that, so we're going to tax you, and then we're going to subside them. See? So we need to make sure that kind of thing does not happen in other countries around the world.
I think we will need the power grid for at least 20 or 30 more years, but probably more like 60 or 70 years, even if solar were amazing overnight, just because of storms and power distribution and other situations like that. But the power grid model is sort of subsidized based on the cost of the grid. Like most of the cost per kilowatt hour that people pay goes to the infrastructure and not the generation. And that, as energy usage goes down, then that means the cost per unit energy is going to go up. But that's only going to drive people to solar faster. And so as long as we don't have sort of a weird legislated situation, that's going to be the flashpoint for solar, and suddenly it'll be everywhere.
Speaking of the flashpoint, BMW is increasing the efficiency and also the power of their headlights using lasers. So their new lights, here's the way they work. They shoot some laser into like a ball of gas. What is it? Is it phosphorescent gas, or what is it? It's on here somewhere.
Basically phosphorus.
Yeah.
Like an old CRT monitor, if you've ever seen one of those.
Now, what this is going to do is it's going to be about 10 times more intense when compared to conventional sources, but it's also going to be 3 times more power efficient than LEDs. So I'm wondering what the implications of this technology could be outside of the car. I mean, are they using this anywhere, like in stadiums or that sort of thing? Because that's a lot of power. Stadiums, they need a lot of power for those huge stadium lights. If this is as efficient as they say it is, why can't we just have, the lights from a BMW i8, one of their hybrids, just all over the stadium? Anyway, the first comment that most people have is like, well, that's just going to blind everybody. Lights that are that bright. Well, I saw a demonstration of the lights on the new BMW. They're actually pretty crazy impressive. They sense when other cars are showing up, and they actually redirect the beam of light so it's not hitting the person in the face. And then when the car gets close enough, if they're coming up on your left side, the left light will actually turn off, and you're still lighting the entire right side of the road or the forest or whatever's over on your right. And then once the car passes, the light pops back on automatically. So it's pretty impressive technology, and I can't wait until that's rolled out into more cars, especially since I like to drive at night. The roads are empty. It's just me and the road.
There are some other technologies that mitigate that, like they can black out. There's a technology where the laser's hitting a grid of mirrors, basically, and the mirrors can turn so that one patch of light where the car is reflecting away some of it. I'm not really sure how that works, but this is probably a net positive, although the old curmudgeon in me is like, it's going to be one of those guys that's coming down the opposite side of the road, but it's like insanely way brighter than everybody else and blinding me because it can't see me.
And then all the animals are running around like crazy because they're blinded. You've got like a moose slamming into an elk with an elephant slamming into it right in the middle of the road while you're trying to drive. It's going to be mayhem, and then a plane's going to crash because they thought that was the runway.
Yeah.
I just ran with that. All right, DARPA. This has got to be an April Fool's joke. It was released on April 1st, and the headline here on motherboard.vice.com is DARPA's new biotech unit will try to create new life forms. So they've apparently been working on, biotechnology for a few years now, and I guess their ultimate goal is to develop, armors that regrow themselves. They develop tools that have organic matter that can do all kinds of weird things. Maybe some bionic implants, that'd be kind of cool. But this article says that why would they want to create robots when they can just create a new form of life that does the fighting for them? So that's what made me feel like this may be an April Fool's joke. But then again, it is DARPA, and that does sound like something that DARPA would try to do.
DARPA did try to fund the whole Google manufacturing robot thing because it's like, hey, we can adapt this into the T1000. We need that.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know here. Okay, so what if they do start creating new forms of life? Like they are, they're a team of scientists that's pretty damn smart, and they're going to have a lot of money from the government, and that's something that I don't think a lot of the other scientists who have, the ones we talked about last week that were able to create the designer, what was the designer yeast?
Yeah, the designer yeast. We talked about that last week.
these guys are probably going to get more in funding than those guys. Because,
Yes.
they can blow stuff up after they make their designer killer yeast.
Because the government.
Yeah. So, like I said, I don't know if this is an April Fool's article or not. You guys let me know. If it's not, maybe we should look further into it. Maybe we should go down to DARPA headquarters, wherever they are, and get a video tour. I don't know.
Pretty sure no.
Yeah, no. Remember that turbine we talked about last week? That they put it up in the air, and it because up about 1,000 feet, the wind is like 6 to 10 times stronger, and they're able to generate power. Well, that's also going to be a Wi-Fi hotspot, apparently.
Ooh.
So, yeah, that could be interesting. Again, this article was released on April 1st, so I don't trust any of this. It seems completely legit, and it sounds like it's going to be similar to what Google's doing with the weather balloon, and it makes total sense to have this up there generating power and also distributing the internet. But it's April 1st, April 1st. Now, this one is not from April 1st, but it sounds like it should be. So the scientists are about to translate dolphin whistles. And pretty soon, we're going to have a dolphin to English translator. You know what they're going to say?
How did I end up on Sequest 2033?
No, they're going to say, so long and thanks for all the fish.
Oh, yeah. That's a much better joke. I read this, and the only thing I could think of was like, Sequest something. I don't remember. I don't even remember what it said. I just remember that kid made the Dolphin translator, and it was a thing on Sequest. That's all I remember.
Man, I almost forgotten Sequest. That's like Star Trek underwater.
Yeah.
Like, does anybody watch Sequest? I watched like a few episodes back in the day, but it really was Star Trek underwater.
Yeah, it was Star Trek underwater.
I can see the pitch for that. They're being like, we know less about the depths of the ocean than we do about the surface of the moon, and then that would be the pitch for like it's outer space underwater. I bet that's how they sold that. Anyway, now let's talk about Obama mapping the brain. So the Obama administration is throwing a lot of money at the idea of mapping a brain, and then from this, we're going to be able to do a lot. Now, the human brain is about 2,000 times more complicated than a rat brain, and there about 1,000 times more neurons than a mouse brain?
I think it's like 2,000 times.
Let's see, it's 2,000 times larger and 1,000 times more neurons. There we go.
Yep. So now, multiplicatively, it's millions of times more complex in the types of simulation that we would have to do.
Now, if they were able to map a brain, just to know where all the different connections are, this connects here and this goes here, and then this goes over here, then this goes here, what they're going to be able to do with this, in theory, and this is something that Michio Kaku was talking about, they may be able to just grant us the ability to learn things with a touch of a button. Here, plug this into your head. Oh, you want to be a piano virtuoso? Plug this into your head. You want to know some things? Plug this in. So that's.
Do you want to pledge your soul to the Walmart Corporation? Plug this in.
That's mandatory. That's mandatory. So there's a lot of different implications as to where that could go. And again, that may be a topic for a more in-depth video when something happens. But right now it's just,
fairly sure if that had been around when L. Ron Hubbard was making Scientology, it would have ended very badly.
Yeah. That article has nothing to do with anything. I just have this article open and I don't know what it's for. It's what if they had saved some of the money? Did you send me that?
What is it?
Something on The Economist. About Hugo Chavez and the oil boom. I don't even know what that is.
I don't think that was me.
No, it's just in there. Like, all right.
Gaming, finally, yes.
There's a new trailer for Skywind. And I know all the purists out there, all the Morrowind purists out there right now are cringing because Skywind changes the core gameplay. But for all the people who enjoy the Skyrim gameplay or the modded Skyrim gameplay, this could be interesting. Now, what they've done with Skyrim is they've taken Morrowind, which is probably the best Elder Scrolls game. And it's not the first. People that think Skyrim is the first, just no. It's not the first.
Honestly.
Probably the best and probably the most mature out of all of them. Not as far as content or subject matter, but as far as just nerdiness of the interface and everything. Well, they've taken that and they've put it into the Skyrim engine to give you all the benefits of modernness. Now, you can take Morrowind and you can mod it so much that it looks as good as just about any game that came out today, but this is really going to appeal to people who really just love the Skyrim mechanics. I'm kind of looking forward to this, but this new trailer shows off some of Azura's coast. I don't know. Did you play Morrowind?
I did, but it's been so long ago that it's just kind of a blur. It sort of melted together with some of the other stuff, but I do remember the gameplay being a lot of fun because it was sort of different.
Yeah, it was difficult too.
Yeah.
I remember where I was the first time I saw a screenshot from Daggerfall, and I could not believe the graphics. Like it was at that time I was used to Doom 2 and Ultima Underworld, and then I saw a picture of Daggerfall and I was like, what? Oh my God. But yeah, this is way cooler than that. All right, so if you guys are into Morrowind, Skyrim, check that out. The Long Dark is a game that I'm looking forward to, and actually Pistol is really looking forward to this one. The Long Dark is a survival game, and the art style on this, a couple of screenshots came out, and by the way, all the guys working on this game are game veterans. You guys can go check out the forums, check out some of the videos that are out there, just to see how the gameplay works. But essentially, you're out there in the middle of the cold. You have to build fires to keep the animals away, keep yourself fed, and your calorie count is constantly going down. So it tells you how many calories you're burning per hour or whatever, and you have to make sure that you don't, freeze to death, starve to death, etc. But just wanted to show you guys some of these screenshots here.
The art style of this is just, if they pull this off, this is a really unique, interesting art style.
It looks cel shaded, but I don't think it is.
Yeah, I know. It's got a really sort of interesting artistic quality to it, but I don't know what it is either.
Somewhat minimal, but I don't know. It's like
there's still a depth there, though. It's like it looks minimal, but it's really not. I mean, it's got an ambiance, if you will.
Yeah, so that's a game I'm looking forward to quite a bit. This is pretty awesome. Unreal Engine 4. Somebody redid City 17 from the intro of Half-Life 2 in the Unreal Engine 4. And yeah, I'm just going to put this on the screen. I don't really need to say anything about this, but it is pretty unbelievable. The Unreal Engine 4, I cannot wait for that to come out. And, this is actually the first screenshot of Half-Life 3.
Gabe, get out your checkbook.
More games to talk about. I really like open type games. This is a game called Frontiers on Greenlight. So I'm just telling you guys to go over and check this out. But it's just a massive open looking game. Kind of reminds me of the Elder Scrolls in a way, but under the genre it's labeled adventure, RPG, and casual. But in the video there, it looks more just like kind of a nerdy, some sort of Elder Scrolls meets some kind of a exploration discovery game. I don't know. Another game I recommend. All right, this game, Xonotic. Now, did you play Quake or Unreal Tournament or any of those games, or they make you motion sick? I forget.
No, I played all of those. Descent was the one that made me motion sick.
Oh, that's the one. Well, have you seen Xonotic?
Yes.
I downloaded this and I've been playing it, and it is a ridiculous amount of fun after you wrap your mind around the fact that it is really different. When I first started playing this, it felt like a very clunky version of Unreal Tournament, and then I changed my FOV, and then I started playing around with some of the settings, and then I started learning how the different weapons work, and I'm actually having a ton of fun with it. And the reason I'm talking about it on this show is I want to get more people playing it because the servers are usually somewhat empty. They've done something kind of crazy. There's a grappling hook in this game. It's not on all the servers, but the grappling hook totally changes the gameplay. You'll be on one side of the level, you can shoot your grappling hook all the way across the level, and then it'll whip you. It whips you like crazy across the level. So people are just flying everywhere if you playing a server that has the grappling hook enabled. If not, the different weapons are pretty wild.
So is it like the old Quake 2 grappling hook?
I want to show everybody the interface of this game because this is a PC game. So check this out. Just go to your player setup, and you've got ridiculous amount of stuff as far as your crosshair goes and your name, your character models. You can import different character models. But over here, you can change your different HUD settings, and you can even enter the HUD editor. All right, here we are inside the HUD editor. You see you can edit everything. Here's the chat area. There's just unbelievable amount of control here. Move that down a little bit. Yeah, that looks good right there. And yeah, and save it up when you're done. When you go and you click on advanced settings, it brings up probably 3,000 settings. It pretty much brings up the source code. And it's like, okay, here's your advanced settings. And you can go and you can download the source code on Git. It's an open game. It's under the GPL version 2 license, so totally open. You guys can go play with it.
As it should be.
Yeah, but I'm having a ton of fun with this game, and it doesn't feel free to play. It feels it's got an old school feel to it, though. Like, I guess Unreal Tournament 2004, it feels like more than most other games. Yeah. Anyway, so I'm recommending it. Go check it out. Give yourself a minute, because I had to give myself a minute. I was like, this is weird. But now I'm kind of loving it. Yeah. Give me something to do besides Quake. And that's a good thing. All right, so I guess that's the last video game article I wanted to talk about. Anything else going on this week?
I can't think of anything crazy. We've got another server video coming up, and then the home media server video, and some other videos on some storage options that are under embargo for a few more days. Yeah, well, next Thursday I'm going to be driving over to Boston for PAX, and we've got some people meeting us there, and that's going to be kind of crazy. So I think we'll probably record the tech before I leave. Sweet.
All right. Yeah, we'll do an episode. We'll do an episode of the tech for you guys, and then when we get there, we'll try to do another one from PAX. Just like the PAX episode, and we actually have an editor going with us. I booked his tickets. He's flying, from other places to land in Boston. Yeah. So that's going to be awesome. I cannot wait to see what we can accomplish with an editor. We've always stayed up late, and like I've lost sleep. I tried to edit stuff on a laptop, but he's going to be in the media room. We're going to be bringing him, memory cards, and be like, dude, here's memory card. Thank you so much. And he's going to edit, and I cannot wait. So yeah. And also thanks to Adata and Corsair for sponsoring us. It's going to be awesome. They pretty much helped us pay for the editor. So awesome.
Yay.
Yeah. All right, so that's pretty much it for today. I hope to see some of you guys online on Xonotic. Enough of this. We will see you guys soon.